Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it, Are Questions Really Needed? And this is based on a question somebody asked me, and the person says, or a comment in one of the videos in Spanish. He said, "Hi Nick, I wanted to share with you an inspiration that came to me regarding your work on the channel and your spiritual contributions. Knowing that whatever I touch will be well thought out, and considering that we cannot talk, I would like to share my reflection that in certain contexts, asking questions could lead us down a different path. If I am in an abusive relationship and I don't ask questions, that could perpetuate being in that relationship. Therefore, the question, why am I in this relationship, formulated from a reflective point of view, could perhaps promote healing of that projection and allow forgiveness to take place. You often share that we should not ask questions, but sometimes the mind's function of questioning who or what could harm us also has its purpose. Thank you for sharing." I'm going to share with you what I wrote back, and then we'll elaborate a bit. And I said, "Thank you very much for your message, and you are absolutely right. The thing is, depending on the context in which what I am sharing is heard, what I mean is that the questions the mind asks serve to reinforce the belief in the separate individual. However, when we are talking about questions that contribute to recognizing who I am in essence, they are very useful. Using the example you shared, if you're in a toxic relationship and you ask yourself, why am I in this relationship? That continues to reinforce the belief in a separate individual. However, if you begin to discover who you are, you may start realizing that you are in a relationship to try to fill a void of lack. Once that is seen, you naturally see how the psychological attachment begins to loosen and you find yourself leaving the relationship. But that's not something that you have done. It's what naturally happens when the awareness of who you are is established. In that sense, there are no questions to ask." See, this is very important because I never said that you should not ask questions, because that is not the point. What I'm saying is when you discover who you are, then all the attachments to the things of the world of appearances begin to fall by the wayside. And if you ask, for example, the person says over here, you can ask the question, why am I in this relationship? Well, the problem with this question is that no matter what question you ask, the mind is going to give you an answer. You see? Why am I in this relationship? The mind could give you an answer that says, because you really need that person, because without them you cannot live. You see? That's an answer that the mind will say, and then you may stay there being abused. Okay? Or the mind will give you all sorts of reasons, but if you don't see the core, which is the belief in separation, which is the reason why I find myself pursuing things of this world, then it's going to be a psychological playground for the mind. That's why there's a quote there's a couple of quotes that I like from A Course in Miracles. And these videos are not about A Course in Miracles specifically. It just so happens that I can quote from the Course. Sometimes I quote from the Bible. Sometimes I quote from Buddhism, Taoism, non-dualism, whatever. But the bottom line is that there's two lines that I like. There's one that says, anything in this world that you value and you think that it's worth going for it, it has the power to hurt you, and it will. Why? Because everything in this world of appearances, aside from reinforcing the belief that a separate entity, is transitory. You see? Nothing here is permanent. Basically, when you're centered in the fact that you are, That's where your heart is, and you experience a peace that is beyond understanding, because it's the peace of the fact that you are, that needs nothing, is not attached to anything. And there's another quote from the Course in Miracles that I wanted to say that says, any answer that the world offers brings up another question, leaving the first one unanswered. You see? So in a way, the mind has no answers. The mind is a closed loop, because the mind itself is a thought, and the mind itself is the thought of separation that perpetuates the belief that I am something separate from wholeness. You see? So, once again, the issue here is that if you do not know who you are, if you overlook the fact that you are, which is essence, ever presence, then you'll find yourself attaching to things in the world because you feel that they can complete you, you feel needy, and relationships can be part of that. And consequently, the mind is not going to get you out of there. Ramana Maharshi used to say, asking the mind to help you, so to speak, is like asking the thief to become the police officer. And it's going to follow you for the rest of your life. Now, here's something that the mind can throw, which is usually what happens. Or a thought may come up and says, does that mean that I cannot have relationships? I mean, I cannot enjoy a relationship? You see, that's where we're missing the mark here. Okay? What I'm saying here is that when you know who you are, you're at peace. You're happy. Period. And if a relationship shows up in your life, you can enjoy it fully, but you're not attached to it. There's no psychological attachment, you see? So the world can present all kinds of things that you can enjoy to the fullest. But because there's no attachment to any of them, you enjoy them while they're there. And if they're gone, you remain at peace because you're not identified with the sense of identity that says, I am a separate entity, I'm this individual. And then you're no longer needy. You don't need anything. Literally. That's a quote in the Bible that says, Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You wouldn't want anything. Why would you want anything from this world when you are everything? You see? And yet, I say it again, while you seem to be having the experience of being a human being in this world, well, you will interact with people, you may have relationships, you may have all sorts of experiences, but you live them differently, with a mindset that is not attached. You see? You got a brand new car, you enjoy it, and then the car no longer works or somebody steals it. Okay, well, I guess it's no longer mine. That's it. No big deal. See? You take care of your body, you work out and everything, and one day the body gets sick and you're okay, well, I guess the body's not supposed to work out anymore. You see, you're not attached to anything. You find someone that you have a really good rapport and you like each other and you have a relationship and you fall in love. Well, actually, when you're conscious, you don't fall in love. You are love always. You extend it to everything. But for the sake of this example, that you like each other and then you stay together, and then one day she says, you know what, I want to go and live with somebody else, and you very blessed say, okay, thank you for the wonderful time we spent together. You can leave and you're free to go. You see? Now, if you try to get this from the ego's perspective, it's not going to make any sense. You'll be destroyed. Are you crazy, losing the one that I love? Meaning the one that I need, the one that I'm attached to? So that's what I'm saying. That you don't have to sacrifice any of the things that you may be attached to right now, because that'll be too much of a jump. I'm inviting you to question, who are you? That's it. Don't worry about the details of the movie. I mean, whatever's supposed to be with you will be with you. Whatever's not supposed to be with you will not be with you. That's fine. That's no big deal. But begin to question, who am I? And it's not that you person question who are you so you can find the answer yourself as an individual. No. If you don't identify with the content of the mind, if you don't believe any thoughts, you begin to experience immediately the background, which is the peace that surpasses all understanding. And this is not theoretical. This is not something that's going to happen in the future. This is invitation right now, right this moment. If you don't believe any thoughts, if you don't believe them, put it to the test to see that this is not theory, you know. I'm not asking you to believe anything I say. I'm not positioning myself in some kind of a authority figure. I'm simply pointing so that you can do the investigation. So, right now, if you don't believe the content of the mind, if you don't believe the thoughts, whatever they are, it doesn't matter. And there's feelings, sensations, and you don't believe the thought that are trying to translate those feelings and sensations, just don't believe anything. Just simply sit right here without believing the content of the mind. What remains? You see? What remains? See, what remains is what is. And the invitation here is to rest in what is. You can quote the Bible when it says, for example, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to have its own problems or its own worries. But see, the mind says, okay, I'm fine right now, but what's going to happen tomorrow? But you see, what it's saying is that that thought that says what's going to happen tomorrow is a thought that is happening right now. Don't believe the thought, and there's no such thing as tomorrow. And again, this is not theory. Let's put it to the test. Find tomorrow right now. Come on, go to tomorrow. You see? Then there's no tomorrow. Tomorrow is always tomorrow. Yeah, but when tomorrow, when I'm sitting on a chair, then I can say I'm in tomorrow. No, but tomorrow will not exist. There's no such thing as tomorrow. You're right now. This is what it is. And even if you kind of believe or try to fool yourself into thinking that tomorrow when I'm sitting on this chair, no. Tomorrow when you're sitting on this chair, the fact that you're sitting on this chair is not tomorrow, it's today. It's now. Tomorrow does not exist. Not yesterday either. These are thoughts that seems to be appearing in where? In the now. If you don't believe those thoughts, where is tomorrow and where is yesterday? And better yet, if you don't believe any of those thoughts, what remains? You see? And that which remains, I'm going to ask you a few questions now. That which remains, does it need a relationship? Is it in need of a relationship? Does it need anything? Doesn't matter. That, right, which what is that needs anything? Well, you see, you are that. And that doesn't need anything, but you cannot get this through the conceptual mind, through the filter of the mind. How come I don't need anything? But again, the question, how come I don't need anything, comes from the belief that I'm me, that thinks that is here, that now says, how come I don't need anything? But the fact is that you are. Right now, you are. This is the silence that this is all pointing to. This is why it's simple, because it's just simply been overlooked. So right now, are you not? Are you not being right now? If you don't believe any thoughts that are trying to somehow make sense of this, you just don't worry about it. Just don't believe any thoughts. It doesn't matter. Right now, are you not being? Well, that beingness, is it disturbed? That beingness, is it worry? That beingness, does it feel bad or good? That beingness, does it feel guilt? That beingness, see, that beingness is where all this is pointing to. And you rest in that beingness. And as this recognition is clear, is established, then you just observe life unfolding. You know? You can see the attraction and the repulsion. You can see the desire and the the non-desire. You can see the images, the feelings, the sensations appear. All appearing in beingness, and you are beingness, and that is the peace that surpasses all understanding. And let me ask you, does beingness have any questions? And if beingness doesn't have any questions, does beingness need any answer? You see, this is an investigation. I'm not asking you to believe anything I say. I'm asking you so that you can really go and ask yourself, let me see if it's true. I am. I am. Are there any questions since I am? No. Are there any answers in I am? No. How does it feel, the I am? There's no answer to it, but the closest one would be peace. But the fact is that I am. And you might say, okay, I can see peace, but what if there's a disturbance? And no, you are that peace in which the disturbance seems to appear. If you don't believe the thoughts of the seeming disturbance, because it's the thought that causes or labels that disturbance, if you don't believe any thoughts, yeah, the movement may still happening on the surface, but you remain as you are. You remain as the peace that surpasses all understanding. You see? And now you're just being. You see? You're being while actions take place. You're being while movement seems to take place. You're being while feelings seems to take place. You're being while thought seems to take place. Nonetheless, you're being. And beingness is. And that's all there is. And well, this is inspiration that came through. I hope it served. And as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can become evident.